Hey everyone, welcome to Stingray. In this video, we'll be covering how to use if statements in Python. If statements will make use of the operators in the last episode to add some logic to our program. A basic if statement has a simple structure. You write if, followed by a condition and a colon, and you indent using the tab key to show the code that's inside the if statement. This code will only run if the condition is true. Code that will run regardless after the if statement is not indented. I will write some examples here in Jupyter Notebook. Let's set a as 2, and we'll write if a is less than 5, don't forget the colon, tab, print a is less than 5. We'll also print a statement that is outside the if statement. This code basically checks if a is less than 5 or not. Since a is less than 5, it prints both statements. If we return a to 8 instead, it will not print inside the if statement, and will only print outside the if statement. We can also join multiple if statements. Let's say we want to check if a is less than 5, 10, and 20. We'll change the conditions and print statements appropriately, and try running it. Since a is 8, it is less than 10, and it's also less than 20. In this next example, we'll also use logical operators. Suppose we set b as 20, and we want to check if b is less than 5 and b is even. To check if b is even or not, we do b mod 2 is equal to 0. We then print out if it was true or not. In this case, it does not print, because even though b is even, as it's 20, 20 is not less than 5. This means that the whole condition is false. If we change b to 4 though, it prints, since 4 is less than 5 and is even. We can also change the and to an or. In this case, even if b is 20, it still prints, as even though 20 is not less than 5, it's even. Of course, we might want some code to run only if the condition is not true. While we can do this with two if statements, such as here, where we're checking if 8 is less than 5 or more than 5, a simpler way to do it is the if-else statement. Here, we replace the second condition with an else. It looks similar to the above code, but we don't have to write any condition with the else statement, as it will only run if the first condition is false. There's also a way to add multiple if conditions with elif, which stands for else if. You might wonder what the point of elif is, since we already use multiple if statements, but there is a difference. Compare these two pieces of code and try running them. We are just replacing an if with an elif, but there is a difference. I find it easier to represent this using flowcharts. The first one prints out both statements, both less than 5 and less than 10, while the other one prints out only less than 5. The reason is that using multiple ifs means creating separate if statements. That means it checks to each condition every time. Since b is both less than 5 and less than 10, it prints out both statements. However, using if and elif counts as one statement, and if a condition is met, the rest of the if statement is ignored. So once b is confirmed to be less than 5, it only prints out b is less than 5 and skips to the end. It doesn't consider if b is less than 10 or not. And of course, you can also use it with the else statement as well. Here's an example using both if, elif, and else. I'll set d as 3, and I'll check if d is less than 5, less than 10, or else more than 10. If we print it now, we see that D is less than 5. If we change D to 6, it is not less than 5, but it is less than 10. And if we change D to 12, it is not less than 5 and 10, so D is more than 10. Here, I made some code that checks what your grade is, from A star all the way to F. If it's more than 90, it's A star. If it's more than 80, it's A, and it goes on. For example, if I set grade to 93, it checks the first statement and sees the 93 is more than 90, so it prints A star. If I change grade to 67 instead, it goes down until grade is more than 60, where it prints out C. ELIF is also an advantage here because it doesn't print out multiple statements. Once it prints out a grade, it skips to the end of the if statements. Now we'll learn about the input function. The user can input strings through the input function. When I run it, there's a white box that shows up, where I can type whatever I want, and then it outputs. I can store this input into a variable such as name. And then print out your name is John, for example. And we can also do that for age as well. What if we want to know what your age will be in 10 years? Then we can assign the input to the variable age, and then print age plus 10. Suppose I put 16 here. It gives an error because input turns whatever you write in it to a string, and a string cannot add with an integer. So we have to cast this input function with an int. Now we can improve our grade checking code. Instead of just assigning a value to grade, we can ask an input of what is your grade and int cast it. So the user can type a grade such as 87 and get returned an A. Or if you type a lower grade, for example 65, you'll get C. And if you put something below 50, you get an F. So the if statement gives different results depending on what the user inputs. That's all for now. The next 2 episodes will focus on loops. And we'll start with while loops. Stay tuned.